If there's one significant or profound change that I would hope for, it would be coming back to that element of seeing people as persons, that this is a human being that is beside me, that they're not the other, and that they have challenges that I don't know, and hopefully there's even a chance to understand their story. Hi, my name is Bob Cameron, and I am a co-leader of the Downtown Windsor Community Collaborative and directing the REACT, Recovery Education from Addictions and Complex Trauma, a 90-day program for recovery from addictions and trauma that shapes our addictions. So DWCC brings neighbors together. We're looking at bringing folks out of isolation and into relationship through community development, community gardens, sports, participation in our park system in a variety of ways. And so if you live downtown, you're welcome to be a part of it. The REACT program is designed for folks that can enter into the 12-week program any Monday. We begin and welcome new folks into the program. The connection between substance use and other issues, whether mental health and homelessness, they're all tied together. It's like you can't separate them. They're connected. And so we have folks as being a neighbor and investment in our neighborhoods and our properties and finding folks that don't have the same care. The rough part is they become the other. They become a person I realize I don't think of them as my neighbor when they actually are my neighbors. And so finding that balance between compassion and neighborliness and protection of what I work hard to invest, that's what our neighbors feel. And so finding out that balance is really, really critical. As a neighbor, as I see someone in my neighborhood that caused fear in the past, just even having a fresh set of eyes to consider, even though there's no contact with them, I can see that part of their story is shaped by experiences they did not create, that were done to them. And so there's a sense of compassion and understanding of the human story just begins to shape the difference of my neighborhood. So that's one factor. The other factor is that we will advocate for and tell stories on as a whole variety of agencies begin to understand trauma. Imagine in our school system if a grade 1, grade 2 teacher sees children who are acting out and realizing, okay, what's the source of this? Is it a behavioral problem? No, it could be something that's happening in their lives. The court system's doing the same thing, the hospital systems, and this is beginning to stretch into all facets of agencies and care, is understanding the significance of trauma. You know, if folks have the capacity to stop and have a conversation with someone that's walking their streets that they see regularly that doesn't look like they fit or doesn't have an address down the street, and just be friendly, to know they have a name and a story, I think we're pleasantly surprised at how each of us care for one another, and stopping to address it and see people as genuine people that need to be acknowledged with human dignity. What do folks want? They want hope and dignity. And sometimes all that is just a conversation of what's going on in your life. Those are big steps for people to take, but I think every time I've done that, I'm pleasantly surprised and grateful for that new, fresh encounter. You know, we know that the recent research, especially out of Canada, has shown that almost 100% of addicts were traumatized in a significant way in their childhood. And the coping behaviors that a young child has to develop for safety, because they weren't provided the safety they needed, serve them well when they're younger, but now that we're older, they tend to be destructive behaviors. And so we can deal with the behavior and addiction to substance abuse, but unless we truly get to the deep-rooted engine that's driving those behaviors, we're not going to have great success. And so if we can address the trauma, to name it, to find healing from it, and then to learn new tools for dealing with adversity, which we always will face. Adversity doesn't go away, but new tools on how to deal with that gives folks a chance to really, truly enjoy life. You know, the substance use addictions, I think, has been exacerbated or aggravated certainly through COVID. We know that isolation is a critical factor in aggravating folks and using. And so when we draw out of relationships it makes it harder to care for folks. We move into isolation and folks don't know the pain we're feeling and the drugs or the addictive behaviors we use to assuage that pain. So that's a challenge, is just staying connected to be able to help people out. Do we need to do more? Yes. Are people passionate about it that are doing it? Yes. And I think there are, behind the scenes parts of groups working to coordinate their efforts to be able to help and address folks who are drowning from their addictions. So what I was thinking about was that when DWCC looked at like how can we significantly impact our neighborhood and the small size of a community we are, I was saying one of the niches we can do with is the component of healing and community. And looked at the two issues of healing for addictive tendencies and healing from trauma, and then capacity to bring people out of isolation into a safe community where they're loved and find value and a place to belong. And what we found out was through this program REACT was here's a component that provides that. And so we looked at all the services that are provided through the city when it comes for folks with addictive behaviors. That component of an outpatient, community-centered, grassroots is a niche that we can provide. And so finding the REACT was that of something that was trauma-focused rather than necessarily presenting addictive behaviors. And that has been what we found to be the most successful, that we can provide a little bit for the help and what other agencies are really doing. You mentioned the 12-step programs, and those are incredible in providing folks structure for discipline in life. And so REACT is a little different in the sense it's not looking at recovery from addiction, it's looking at exploring my trauma and finding healing from that. And then the other things will I'll have the freedom to overcome those addictions because I've taken the engine, the furnace out that's driving it. So a success of what we've experienced already is the aha moment that goes on with folks when they enter into the program, they get into their second or third week, and the connecting of the dots. They can put together the traumatic experience they had and why I do what I do. And it's this burden off the shoulders to be able to say, I do what I do because of what happened to me in the past, and I can be freed from that. And so there's some release and freedom that's provided for folks. And then they can begin to now face up to stuff, and it, in a sense, destigmatizes what I'm involved in or what I've experienced or what's been my story. So as one person said when they graduated just, I think, last week, they're saying, like, I'm not writing a new chapter in my life, I'm writing a whole new book. And so there's a whole new opportunity for me to write a new narrative for my life that's free of what was the past. It does not go away. I'll never forget that part of the story, but the pain that went with it and its shackles are being relieved. Another spot of a few we were talking about is the street health on Pallissier, 700 block of Pallissier. Provide a lot of services for folks in Frontline, for folks who are on the streets or struggling with stuff. They can confidentially walk in, talk with a counselor and provide, and that's a really good avenue for one place to go where we can get the help I need that's tailored to what I'm specifically dealing with. Another one that's that WECOSS is promoting or advocating for is breakingfreeonline.ca, which is an online portal for folks to go in and answer the questions and work through it and find out where can I get the help that I need, and then to begin working literally online with addressing some of the issues I've got. And that's a really good starting point for folks, and then to begin to enter into the community and find the space. There's no magic bullet. Folks who are wrestling with stuff, as I think we were talking earlier, mentioned it's taken years to cause my troubles. It's not something that's going to get solved overnight. If there's one significant or profound change that I would hope for, it would be coming back to that element of seeing people as persons, that this is a human being that is beside me, that they're not the other, and that they have challenges that I don't know, and hopefully there's even a chance to understand their story. But the whole concept that you're working towards of label me person, that this is a person with dignity and value and struggling right now, but the hope I would have is that we could see folks with that element of hope and dignity.